Welcome to X-Men First Class Movie Review. In the beginning of the movie start in the year 1944, that's we meet the bad guy, a young Magneto. He was open the gate. The man was watching from the window. The little boy was asleep in bed, then he heard something downstairs. He asked, "Who are you?" It was a young Mystique. She said, "You are not scared of me." The boy was the younger Professor X. Her name was Raven before she was called Mystique. She smiled. The man wanted Magneto to use his powers. Man asked young Magneto, "Do you want chocolate?" He asked, "Where is his mum?" They brought the mum in for him. He told him, "You move the coin." Then he made him mad, and he used his powers. He was upset. He was the coin. Magneto was sitting in his room. He used his powers, and the coin fly into the wall. The young Professor X was got her a drink. She was, "How did you know that?" Professor X like her eyes, one eye green and the other eye blue. Raven got up of her seat, said, "I guess by my own drink." Raven said hi to her. Professor X said to Raven, "Get your coat." They left the drink at the restaurant. He said, "You did that on purpose." Raven said she didn't do on purpose. It happened if she's stressed or tired. Raven is not happy at him. She was like upset. Raven was brushed her teeth in the bathroom, and she was talking to herself in the mirror. She asked Professor X a question. He said, "Blue." Raven is his only friend. She went, "Well." Raven said, "Can you read to me?" Magneto was walking to a building. He said, "Let's not play this game." He said he got it from a friend. He was using his powers and stopped him open a desk door. In Las Vegas, she was in a car keeping a lookout. She put a disguise on to get inside the building. She walked in, then have a look around. She said she's sorry and talked to the man. She found a secret room when turned the table and a file on the desk. She saw what happened to the man. She was telling someone what she saw in the club. He put the phone down. Professor, then she was walking with the professor to get a drink. She followed them. He was walking in the building to get a drink. Man was laughing when he was having a drink. They all look at each other. Magneto was using his powers and looking for someone. Professor X was drinking a drink and everyone cheered. Raven was proud of him. Then woman came in and talked to Professor X. She asked him, "I need your help." He saw the bad guys and he is going to help her. She said he telling the truth. Professor X was telling them about their powers, then everyone is listening. Raven got up and showed them her powers, then Professor X said how that for a magic trick. Professor X frozen the man to talk to her. Professor X said meet him up third floor of the parking garage. Professor X and Raven got in the car. Magneto got on top the boat, then she used her powers, he fell into the ocean. Professor X was on the ship, then he found him, then he lost him with his powers. He used his powers to make a storm. Magneto used his powers, they both running through the ship. They escaped into another ship under the boat. Magneto was trying to stop them from escape. He was underwater. He asked, "Who are you?" Then they became friends. Back HQ, he was telling him their mission. They saw his plane. They meet with a scientist called Hank. He showed his powers to all of them. They are watching TV. Then he showed her the helmet. She was smiling. Then he made her get the ice. Hank was talking to Raven. They both said sorry at each other. Then Magneto walked in. He was walking around looking for something. He found the file and took it with him. Professor X walked away from him. Magneto walked in. Then he said no to him. They walked upstairs to the lab. Raven was amazed. Hank said it was working. Then Professor X was laughing. Professor X and Magneto showed her their powers. She showed them her powers. She had butterfly wings and flying. They both went into a car. They both were talking to him. They opened the door. He was sitting down waiting. The boy used his powers, the fish swimming away from the water. Professor X and Magneto walked in and saw the Wolverine. He told them to go away. Back on the another ship, they escaped with she looking out. She said there is nothing on radar. She said then we have a problem. She walked away and pressed a button to get in a secret room. Professor X is sitting down talking to Magneto. Raven said we should come up with code names. Raven said, I want be called Mystique. Then she showed her powers at them. Raven asked to Darwin, what about you? He showed them his powers. He put his head in water. He had scales like a fish. Darwin said to him, what about you? He said he going to be Banshee. Hank said, why do you want to be named that? He showed them his powers. They were amazed. He said, your turn. She stood up, told everyone her stage name. Raven said, you can fly. They all laughed. Then she said, what's your name? He said, how about Bigfoot? Raven was talking about his feet was small. Darwin asked Alex, what is your gift? Alex went outside. He was going to tell everyone to get back. Then they moved closer to the window with no glass. She was not here to say I told you so. She said the plane is ready. Professor X is not happy with them. All of them were having fun in the room. She asked, what are you doing? Raven came out code names for them, Professor X and Magneto. They walked off. They were in the van. Professor X made them think they not there. They were watching the bad guy walking in the building. Magneto was running using his powers to get in the building and asking her the question. Professor X went into the building to stop him. She was using her powers to get away. She tried to escape. The kids were in the room. The guys were being mean to them. Darwin was like, what was that? They went to the window. The bad guys went to the HQ where the kids are. The kids are so frightened of what is happening outside. The kids run out of the door and they run back into the room. They were trapped. He was not there to hurt them. Angel went with him. She said, come on. Raven said we have to do something. Darwin tried to save Angel, then he said Alex, then he told everyone to get out. The bad guy was talking about the people who was after them. He was telling him his plan. Professor X found them. All right, Raven was sitting down outside with the kids become heroes. She made a hole in the glass. She said that was a good question. The people were around table. They were outside. Look at the building. He was telling them the plan. Everyone cheered. Professor X was testing Magento power outside of the house. Then he asked Alex to test his powers. Professor X is testing everyone powers in the house. He screamed his powers made him flying. Raven was sitting down at the window. She was waving. Magneto used his powers and scared Raven. Then he dropped the mental on her. She stopped it on time. Alex missed the middle one with his powers. Raven was looking in the science machine. He was laughing when he was flying. He said to Alex, hit the X, he did it. Alex said to Hank, good job. Magneto didn't know he had that good memory left. He said, you can do it. Magneto trying, he done it. They were laughing, they all watching the TV. He asked, how do you know? He said, we all need a good night's sleep. Angel and the bad guy were watching TV and having a drink. Raven said, come in. She said, do we have to hide? She said, please don't do it, Hank. She said, we are all different. They both sitting down and talking. Hank was in the lab, then he used the medicine. He turned into a blue monster. Magneto was surprised that Raven was in the bed. Raven was smiling. She went into the kitchen and scared Professor X. Hank told Professor X about his medicine. She was so upset. They went to Hank lab and found their costumes. He said, do we have to wear these? They went to the jet. Hank was upset it didn't work. He said to Hank, can you fly this thing? The bad guys made to the ships and destroyed one of the ship. He jumped out and screamed, used his powers, and went underwater. Magneto used his powers and got ship from underwater. It was flying, they all got out of the plane. Magneto was in the boat, he found him, then he helped Alex, then he lost one wing. Alex used his power and stopped her hurting someone. Raven helped Hank with her powers. Magneto was trapped, then he stopped the bad guy. People around the table are talking about Agent. Magneto fly out of the ship and told everyone our fighting stop. He said to Professor X, tell me I'm wrong. She run to the plane, then she said hello. Magneto stopped it with his powers and send them back to them. Professor X tried to stop him, he sent the team flying. Agent tried to stop Magneto, wants him to join him. He said no one of them in a team is joining Magneto. Raven said take care of him. They disappeared. They all try to help Professor X on the sand. Back at the school, Agent is walking with Professor X talking. Professor X made his own team, now called the X-Men. She said she's not going to tell anyone else. Magneto broke Emma Frost out of jail. I give the movie 10 out of 10.